Hi, it's Lucy here from Catching Rainbows Fertility, and I'm going to talk about unexplained infertility because frankly it's one of my big bugbears when it comes to treating my patients who have been told, you know what, great news, there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine, everything should be okay, you should be able to get pregnant. And actually when you've been struggling, when you've been waiting, when you've been trying everything, and then you summon up the courage to go and have the test done and they don't find anything, it's actually really devastating, because much as you don't want anything to be wrong, you kind of want something to go on. So to me, unexplained infertility feels like the medical community just got to a point where they kind of got bored. I don't know, it's like they felt like they've done enough work, and they've invented IVF, which is amazing. They've invented, you know, things like clomiphene, IUI. They've gone through a huge array of diagnostic procedures that they can apply to a situation, and it's wonderful. It really is. But clearly, it's not conclusive. You know, it's not exhaustive. But it feels as though the medics have decided, well, I think we could just call it unexplained, and eventually that will become an actual term. But it's crap when you have it. So I am going to talk you through the 4 different reasons that Kath and I have found over a decade of doing this work. And by the way, if you're new to Catching Rainbows, we combine clinical, medical, scientific approaches with the more spiritual, emotional, alternative kind of methods, with no particular agenda, just the fact that you can mesh them together, you can take little bits out of each pot for different people and find the right route for that person, and that the body speaks in many, many ways, and sometimes medicine isn't enough to translate what it's trying to tell you. So I'm just going to list them. There are 4 things that we have found to explain unexplained infertility, and I hope that if you have this diagnosis, one of these things will ring a bell for you, or will give you something to go on, because honestly, probably 50% of our clients come in with this and they all fit into one of these categories. Okay, so number 1 would be a luteal phase issue. So this is the aspect of your cycle from ovulation to the part when you begin bleeding. Now, this issue is quite hidden to the kind of naked eye. You would be somebody who would have a roughly normal cycle, something between kind of, well, anything from 20-something days to 30-something days. The point is, you will have had normal test results, you will think you have regular periods, and the only things that will show up would come up if you actually just observed your symptoms and looked at things like temperature charts. So with a luteal phase issue, what happens is your temperature should rise after ovulation, and it should go I will nail that whole inserting pictures thing and getting better at making these videos really fancy, but for now I'm just going to give you the information. So ovulation to period, your temperatures will come up, they will go along, and you should have at least 10 steady high temperatures before it starts to drop down and you bleed. Now, what can happen with a luteal phase issue is, if you were to see that on paper with a temperature chart, you would either see that it just does maybe 7, 8 temperatures and then just starts fading down, or it's very zigzaggy. So, you know, often you see almost like the shape of a W or an M, where it just is all wiggly and unsteady. And these ladies often start to spot sometimes 2-3 days before they actually come on their period. Or you'll find that actually you ovulate later than you think you do. So you might think, I've got a 28-day cycle, so it's all fine, but you're not ovulating till day 18, day 19, day 20, and so there's just not enough time for your body to have that space for implantation, and the progesterone just isn't strong enough to support implantation. So the only real symptoms of that to look at a woman would be to examine the way that she bleeds, and if she has that spotting, although that doesn't happen for everybody, to look at the temperature chart and see what that's doing, to see if she's got any other things going on. Like women with luteal phase issues often really feel the cold because the progesterone is all part of that warming system. So often just, you know, the kind of ladies who are always a little bit on the chilly side. Now, luteal phase stuff, it can be just a simple hormonal imbalance, which can be corrected easily, or it might be that it's to do with the progesterone cortisol relationship. So if you're somebody who's quite anxious or quite busy-headed, your body can run always on a little bit too much adrenaline. And this is true for people who have been through something difficult as well, or who are just, you know, generally stressed and busy. You find that you're just ticking over all the time and your brain is just busy, busy, busy. So your stress levels are just that little bit higher than normal to kind of support you in that process. What happens as a result is, in order to make more of those stress hormones, your body literally steals from the bank of progesterone in order to do that. So this aspect of you will struggle. So the best way that you can tackle a luteal phase issue is to do kind of stuff that reduces your stress, whether that is like lifestyle stuff, lifestyle changes, whether it's learning mindfulness, whether it's going to see somebody who can, you know, work with you to help reduce that adrenaline in you. And things like vitamin B6 are very good. Vitamin C, taking the two together, are amazing for progesterone issues. If you really, really struggle and the B6 and the vitamin C don't work, people often find that Agnus castus is good. But proceed with caution. Agnus castus is very, very strong, and used in the wrong way, it can actually just backfire on you. So always get advice on that. Okay, so that's luteal phase issues. The second hormonal issue related to unexplained infertility is estrogen dominance. Now, again, this won't show up on a blood test, but it just means that the estrogen is basically being a little bit over the top, overzealous. And so these women will find that they have often a longer cycle, more on the 30 days, 32 sort of days, but not necessarily. They will have quite exaggerated ovulation symptoms. So they might get much more snappy or PMT, kind of emotional. They often have issues with their skin, their weight. There's kind of stubborn weight gain that just doesn't really shift because it's more hormonal than it is to do with diet. So these women then often have very heavy, clotty, nasty periods that they struggle with. They can be painful. And what happens with the estrogen dominance is that for many ladies they get away with it, but for others it really compromises the way that you ovulate. So on a temperature chart, again, insert helpful picture, you would see that almost you try to ovulate, the temperature dips down and then it starts to go up and then it, oh no, I didn't ovulate, it dipped down again. And it's almost like the body tries and it tries again and sometimes tries again. And so by the time you actually release the egg, it's not as healthy and fresh as it should be in order to optimize fertilization. So you're just not getting anywhere. The best way to overcome estrogen dominance, because the other thing that obviously it's having an impact on is the way that your lining is building up, because you're getting those heavy flowing periods that then you get these little pools where it clots, and so you'll end up with lots of uneven lining for the endometrium to kind of try and make a little bed for that embryo. Best way to do it is to get yourself on some magnesium and to annoyingly take out or reduce as much as possible your gluten and your sugar. Now, I know that that is the most annoying advice to give and it's boring to do, and I totally get it. It's not something that's easy for people, and if you can just make little changes like have soup instead of a sandwich, have rice instead of pasta, you will start to notice a difference. And things like fertility massage, castor oil packs, we've got a whole video on that if you want to look at that. All of those things will help that lining as well. So that's estrogen dominance. The third thing, which can be related to either of those others, is just the way that you're bleeding. So some women find that they have maybe very long bleeds, so kind of, you know, you're talking 6, 7, even 8 days. Lots of brown spotting, either at the beginning or at the end, or both. You can also find that you have like a stop-start flow. So you almost completely have nothing for a day or half a day, and then all of a sudden loads more comes out. So this is to do with the position of your uterus, where it's sitting in this sort of pelvic bowl. And what can happen is it moves. It can tip forward, it can tip back, it can squish itself off to the side. And this is very normal, you know, this happens. But for some women, that means that it gets stuck in that position and it struggles to empty itself properly. It doesn't clear properly. So you get very strong period pains where it's trying to contract and squeeze. You get lots of brown blood because that's old blood that it's trying to clear from last period and many periods before that. And so if nothing else is going on, but you have this situation, that might be why you're not implanting, because the lining is not even, it's not fresh, it's stagnant, and the uterus is just not happy. Like she's all scrunched up, she's not very happy. The best way to tackle that is with fertility massage and castor oil packs. And as I say, there is a video on that, but it's a great thing if you can go and see somebody like an RVGO practitioner, someone who can actually do that massage for you, who can show you how to do the castor oil, and who can work with you to help reposition the uterus and help her kind of spread back out again and empty properly. The last reason for unexplained infertility is something psychological, emotional, mental, and it can be something really kind of an obvious link, like somebody who has had a previous issue with, you know, a traumatic birth or a difficult pregnancy or a previous abortion, sexual abuse, anything that's to do with that area that means it's just asking to be healed so that the flow of energy can be restored. And it's almost as though your body sees this as an opportunity for you to deal with that and to work through it, so that actually that kind of trust and safety can be restored back into that place, into your body. But it can also be things that don't seem to be related. So, you know, we have worked with women who've got other situations going on that might mean that their body is protecting them from pregnancy. So an autoimmune disorder, rheumatoid arthritis, you know, that kind of thing, where either there's an actual diagnosed condition, or you have a situation in your life where you have had to protect yourself, you have had to work hard, you'd have to survive, you've had to keep going for some reason, and your body is still on that whole safety mode, and it doesn't see pregnancy as a good idea because that's letting the guard down, that's giving your resources away. And so you can work with somebody to help restore that. You can do that, you know, obviously you can do working with yourself. You can go and see, you know, somebody who does hypnotherapy, someone who does counselling, somebody that you click with who can just help you unlock that a little bit and show your body, you know what, it's okay, we can do this now. It's fine for us to go ahead with this pregnancy and everything is safe, everything is okay. So that is it really. That's summarising the 4 main causes that we find for unexplained infertility, and I really hope that has shed some light on your situation. And as I say, you know, we work with a lot of women in lots of different ways to help move through this unexplained thing. So good luck and loads of love. If there's anything else that we can do to help, please do email us and get in touch, and I'll see you in the next video.